Apologies for the lack of videos this past month. I've been working on this video and another big one, but haven't had time to finish either. From now on, I want to focus on creating videos that are thoughtful and analytical reviews, rather than a quick 5-minute video just for the sake of creating content. But those videos take a lot more time to create. A 5-minute video is something I can knock out in about 2 hours. Script, content gathering, recording, and send it off to cutestuff for her to edit it. But a 30-minute video takes me about 2 weeks, and that is just to complete the script. I will continue to have videos discussing a variety of series, but if I don't have a ton to say about the series, the video will probably just be a short. So expect longer video essays like this one from now on. They require a lot more work, but they're a lot more satisfying to make, and people tend to enjoy them more. Anyway, spoiler warning for My Dress Up Darling, up to and including Chapter 107. This video was originally going to be an in-depth look at the writing of Fukuda-sensei, reviewing the entire series up to this point, and we will be doing that, but we'll start with Chapter 107. Because how can we not talk about Chapter 107? Chapter 106 left us on a cliffhanger. Marin said she didn't want Gojo to make her outfits anymore. That's the entire point of the manga and what their relationship is based on. A doll falling in love with the doll maker. So why did she say that? Fortunately, the first few pages of Chapter 107 answer that question. Marin explains that she feels guilty for causing Gojo to stray from his chosen path. It is all her fault that he hasn't had the time to work on Hina dolls. Of course, she's also a bit angry at Gojo. He should have told her that she was a burden. Gojo is taken aback. He never once thought that. But Marin won't listen. Sure, there was that conversation back at the studio, but Gojo can't spend all of his time working on Hina dolls. He has to do all sorts of stuff, like going to the sea after school. He made her costumes because he wanted to. Yes, Kitagawa asked him to make her cosplay clothes, but Gojo could have said no. Making them was something he decided on his own. In fact, up until he met her, he always kept his head down. But now, thanks to Marin, he's looking forward. But Marin isn't fooled by his words. In fact, Gojo thanking her makes her angry. Finally, she rips the band-aid off and asks him why he was so upset and moody at Comiket. Remember, Marin's mood has been spiraling. One thing makes her happy, 2 things make her sad. And this one has been bugging her for days. Gojo hesitates to answer. He's afraid of what her response would be. After all, he knows he's not worthy of Kitagawa. She's a shining light while he's nothing. A creature of shadow who only knows about doll making. Remember, some things are better left unsaid. If he says it, he can't be around her anymore. But while humans may regret the things they did, we always regret the things we didn't do. So Gojo summons up his courage. Gojo admits to being jealous. When he saw all of the attention that Kitagawa was given, he didn't like it. Don't look at her, stop taking photos of her. Gojo should have never told her that she needed to look enchanting enough that people would want to fall in love with her. This ugly emotion is tearing him up inside. Gojo wants to make Marin shine, but he also wants to keep that shine all to himself. And he hates himself for wanting to take that away from her. And now he's done it. He can never take it back. He knew his words would hurt her, but the genie is out of the bottle. There's no unringing that bell. Gojo tells her that he wanted to keep it a secret, but keeping that secret was tearing him up inside. Now it's too late. There is no turning back. Heart full of guilt for burdening Marin with his admission of jealousy, Gojo says the words I've been waiting for him to say for almost 60 chapters. He apologizes again, confesses that he will always love her, and turns to leave. Self-loathing fills his heart as Marin snatches his scarf and pulls him in for a kiss. I'm just gonna pause here and let you enjoy this scene as much as I did. Now, I'm not sure if Marin tackles Gojo here or if they just stumbled. Probably a bit of both. But her response to his confession shows a more enthusiastic Marin than we've seen since she first talked about cosplaying Shizuku-tan in Chapter 1. Her eyes sparkle, Hearts surround her every speech bubble, and joy has overcome our heroine. Finally, our doll confessed her feelings to her dressmaker. I'll admit, I thought this confession wouldn't happen this arc. I thought we'd get one more arc. You see, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I do have is a specific set of skills. Skills earned from a lifetime of reading and studying stories. Everything from story structure and tropes to character archetypes and literary theory. After I posted my video discussing chapters 105 and 106, I came to the realization that we probably weren't getting a full-on confession in chapter 107. I figured we'd be getting some conflict resolution, but not the resolution that our beloved Bisque doll was wanting. I'm getting ahead of myself. Hang on. The title of this video is The Genius of My Dress-Up Darling. I don't mean that Marin and Gojo are geniuses, but Fukuda-sensei is. The reason I call them a genius is how they're able to take a silly story about cosplay and weave it into one of the best romance manga of all time. And they do that by both mirroring the series from which Marin's outfit comes from with the story of My Dress-Up Darling and tying the two together. Allow me to explain, and we'll start at the beginning. The first costume, the story of which is covered in the first 2 volumes of the manga or the first 5 episodes of the anime, serves as an introduction. Gojo is introduced to Marin, and through her he is introduced to both cosplay and eroge games. The game that Shizuku-tan is from, Saint Slippery Academy for Girls, The Young Ladies of the Humiliation Club Debauched Edition 2, or Slippery Girls 2 for short, is an erotic game where the main character is the grandson of the head of an all-girls school and is forced to attend the school and join the Humiliation Club. At first, he doesn't understand what it takes to be a dom, but eventually he learns and is able to achieve happiness. The whole being in an all-girls school as well as being in the Humiliation Club is new to him. Just like the world of cosplay, as well as having a friend, are new experiences for Gojo. As Marin is explaining the plot of the game to Gojo, Gojo at first thinks she's messing with him, fully expecting her to laugh at any moment. But she's dead serious. And so, Gojo hears his first ever otaku rant about being in love with a character. So this arc is also about experiencing new things such as falling in love, which is how the arc both begins and ends, with Gojo discovering cosplay and friendship, and Marin falling in love. The next arc introduces Gojo to the wonderful world of group cosplay, as well as crossplay, and it is done so through a Magical Girls anime. Let's be honest, a Sailor Moon cosplay is always fun to see, but when you see the entire Sailor Scouts crew cosplaying together, it is something epic. Gojo's world is expanding. He's meeting new people, making more money from creating costumes, and even his Hina doll face painting is improving. His grandfather is happy about him experiencing new things. The wonderful thing about art and creation is the more you experience, the more you can put into your creations. Now, for those who don't know, Magical Girl anime are all about becoming something more than you were before, and then using those powers to help protect people. They are coming-of-age stories geared towards girls. I may be wrong about this, but from what I can tell, the Magical Girl genre is basically the Super Sentai genre, but written towards girls instead of boys. And just like the anime that Gojo and Marin watched together, from which this arc's cosplay is coming from, Flower Princess Extreme, this arc is about becoming more than you've been before. It's about transformation. It's about sisterhood. Juju, the new character introduced in this arc, is a famous cosplayer who regularly posts her photos online. No one knows anything about her other than what she looks like. She never cosplays in public, just posts her cosplays on social media. She suddenly shows up at Gojo's house to hire him to make her a cosplay. Specifically, the Black Lily costume worn by Nikaido Shion after she discovers that her big sister Neon is actually the enemy they've been fighting, Black Lobelia. So not only is this arc about transformation, it's also about jealousy. Jealousy and envy are very similar emotions. At the start of the arc, Sajuna, Juju's real name, is jealous of the clothes Marin has. She was filled with envy and absolutely had to have clothes made by this person. So Juju tracks down the person who made Marin's Shizuku-tan outfit. After watching the anime, Gojo is able to finish both Sajuna's and Marin's cosplays, and the two of them transform into sisters. Also introduced in this arc is Sajuna's real little sister, Inui. Tell me your family has a genetic pituitary problem without telling me your family has a genetic pituitary problem. Anyway, come to find out, Inui also wants to cosplay, but she wants to crossplay. Specifically, she wants to play as Soma, one of the boys who serves as a love interest for the characters. Together, they figure out how to turn her into a boy, at least for a little bit, until the beholder explodes. This arc ends with Sajuna explaining to Inui how envious she is of Inui's cosplay. Because Juju is so petite, she doesn't feel she can do justice to a character like Soma or Black Lobelia. Of course, her jealousy isn't rooted in hatred, she just recognizes her limits. But Marin too feels some jealousy when she hears that Inui went to Gojo's house all by herself. Though, to be fair, that is something that Marin has done countless times. So, this arc is about exploring your darker emotions, jealousy and fear, but also how to channel them and work with them. We all feel jealousy and fear, but what we do with those emotions matter. Remember, Sajuna is trembling when they go to check out the abandoned hospital. She's terrified of the lightning, but she's able to overcome that fear thanks to talking with Gojo. This arc is also about love, family love, and falling for someone else. I know Gojo doesn't have any confidence, but other than that, the boy is husband goals. It's no wonder why Sajuna starts to develop feelings for him. I know these are two separate cosplays, but both of them are very short and tie in together. Veronica, the fighting girl, is the first costume that Gojo makes for Marin that he is unable to help her with. Gojo has shown physical attraction to Marin before, and Marin has even teased him about it. But this time, Gojo came outright and told her that with Veronica showing so much skin, he was uncomfortable being that close to Marin. Gojo is a healthy teenage boy, but he's also trying to be good. Remember, he's already had at least one wet dream about Marin, and Marin has even caught him with an erection that she caused. But there's a world of difference between a video game character wearing a skimpy outfit and a beautiful girl like Marin wearing that same outfit. There is no way Gojo can control himself if he's asked to apply makeup to Marin's underboob. As an adult who has made tight-fitting clothing for women before, there are times where I have to have professional conversations about their bodies. One design that I had back when I was LARPing was basically a cross between a cheerleader outfit and a tunic. I wanted something cute and girly that had a fantasy feel, but was also durable enough so it would last through years of combat. But Gojo lacks my confidence. In fact, it's the only thing he's lacking. If Gojo had a bit of confidence, Marin would have had to fight her rivals off with a stick. Anyway, Gojo explains that Marin dressed like that is too much, and there's no way he can help with that outfit. Marin appreciates his honesty and promises to be more mindful about the amount of skin she's showing, but she does tease him a little. So they move on to the next one, a succubus. For me, this whole arc is a reality check for Marin. It's a lesson in moving too fast. Yes, she wants Gojo to embrace her, but there's a difference between fantasy and reality. She's not ready for a sexual relationship at this time. And if the two hadn't been interrupted by that phone call, they would have gone too far. In order for our doll and her dressmaker to have a long-lasting relationship, they need to take their time and grow together, which the intervening 70 or so chapters have done. So this arc to me is about resisting temptation. Remember, the premise of I'm a super popular high school light novel author, but every night I'm being bothered by a succubus, is about a boy staying up too late and a succubus trying to get him to sleep so she can drain his vitality. Every night he resists her temptation, which is what both Gojo and Marin have to do. Of course, the arc is also about feelings of love and intimacy. Can't have a succubus arc without that. The first arc after the anime ended starts with Marin and Gojo attending a cosplay event at an aquarium. This arc marks the first part of long-form storytelling that has dominated the manga since the beginning of Volume 6. The anime ends on Chapter 39, which is also the end of Volume 5, and you could argue that everything from Volumes 6 to 8 is a singular arc. But I've decided to break it up into two. That being said, the two arcs after these, Coffin Game and Haniel, are both massive. Anyway, Marin is once again cosplaying as Shizuku-tan, but this time she's in the maid outfit from Slippery Girl's school festival. While there, we meet a new character, a cross-player named Himeno Amane. Amane is petite with an effeminate face and makes a very cute girl. He teaches Gojo all kinds of tricks about cosplay, as he's been doing it for years. Poses, makeup, shopping, and tricks are all things Gojo needs to learn about. Of course, we hear about Amane's backstory, which upsets both Marin and Gojo. Amane admits he was a little scared when Gojo started asking questions, but he was happy. The trauma from the incident with his ex-girlfriend still hasn't healed. Of course, we see this reflected later on with Gojo and Nanchan. So you could say this arc is about healing and overcoming trauma. But in my opinion, it's about maturing. Go for your goals, screw the haters, do what makes you happy. Of course, what makes Marin happy is sexy anime girls, like Izoya Arashi. Tsukiyono Company is a comedy about a group of girls who sort of fight crime as sort of don't while dressed as bunny girls. Why? Why not? Do you really need a reason? Fine, because everyone loves bunnies. For the first time ever, Gojo hits a wall. He has no idea what he's doing, but the stupid costume won't stay upright. Of course, he was basing it off an anime, and anime physics do not equate to real life. So they turn to Usami-san for help. Actually, this is Marin's first time meeting Usami-san, but regardless. He's able to help them, and he reminds Gojo that boning exists and is necessary for bunny girl outfits. For those who don't know, boning is a sewing technique involving sewing strips of plastic or metal into clothing to make it rigid. Plastic is most common, as it has some give to it, but metal is not unheard of, especially in heavier weight clothing. Of course, this means there won't be any wardrobe malfunctions like what happened in the manga, much to Marin's disappointment. The girls in this series are mature but silly. They ask for help and receive it, sometimes from their enemies, but that essence is reflected in this arc, overcoming adversity by asking for assistance. Without Usami, Gojo would have never finished the outfit, at least not to his standards, which is good, because everyone loves bunnies. Of course, this arc ends with a Halloween party involving a bunch of their classmates. And, mirroring events earlier in the arc, Gojo is asked a question he always dreads hearing. Wait, isn't doing makeup and sewing a hobby for girls? As he starts panicking, one of the other friends points out that his own big brother does makeup professionally. Of course, before Gojo can even recover, Marin brings up the fact that his family runs a Hina doll shop. He's able to do makeup so well because he practices on Hina dolls. Gojo remembers what Amane said. Just because someone said it once doesn't mean others will in the future. And with this, his anxiety begins to settle. Until Noah asks if he's dating Marin. The previous arc began with Amane, a cross-player. This arc begins with the class finding out that there is a tradition at this school, a beauty contest. Held every year during their cultural festival, the event is for students only. Of course, the entire class picks Marin to represent them. She's a professional model after all, so this should be a cinch. But their teacher goes on to explain that this is a cross-dressing event. The boys dress as girls, the girls dress as boys, and they are to try to sway the hearts of their own gender. Marin asks if there's a rule against cosplaying, because she's wanted to cosplay as a boy for a while now. Of course, if she's going to do crossplay, it's gotta be Rei-sama from Council Host. And if we're talking Council Host, it's got to be the bento scene. Despite Marin cosplaying as Rei-sama, this arc isn't really about cross-dressing. The core focus of this arc is helping someone shine. Just like how Cute Stuff helps me shine. Without her editing these videos, this channel would have never gotten off the ground. But going back to Gojo, not only does he help Marin, he also asks others for help. When you ask someone for help, it feels like you're being a burden. After all, who would ever want to help someone like me? But the more Gojo does it, the more he sees that people are happy to help. Knowing that you brought joy into someone else's life, or just knowing that you helped someone out, feels amazing. Personally, I get a great deal of job satisfaction from helping people solve problems. It's why I love both teaching and sales. Helping others collaboratively solve problems is incredibly rewarding. Quick aside, when I say sales, I don't mean going door to door, I mean talking to them about their problems, digging into their pain points, and then helping them find the solution. This arc is incredibly important and one of my favorites. Gojo identifies with Kiyomi-chan, but doesn't realize how much he does until it's time to put on Marin's makeup. Kiyomi said she doesn't mind not being the star if it'll make Rei shine, which is exactly what Gojo does. He starts having a panic attack. After all, this is all on him now, and everyone is watching him. But Marin's soft words bring him back to reality. With these hands, he will make Marin #1. Also, this arc has the moment Gojo realizes he's falling in love with Marin. As Marin steps on stage, shining brightly for the whole school to see, Gojo remembers the last time he felt this way. The first time he saw Hina dolls. So this arc is about helping others to shine, learning to ask for help, and love. Which is appropriate. This is a romance manga after all. Marin got fat. And she did it the way most of us get fat. Marin's caloric intake was higher than her output. Every night she'd eat with Gojo and his grandfather. She'd then take the leftovers home and eat them instead of saving them for breakfast. She'd then eat breakfast and lunch at school. 4 square meals a day without adding additional exercise will cause anyone to gain weight. So to keep her job as a model, Marin has to go on a diet. The thing that's most upsetting to her is she can't fit into any of the costumes that Gojo made for her. But she did finally earn enough for the fancy camera she's been wanting. Soon, Marin and Gojo go to a local cosplay event so that she can use it and get some practice taking photos. Marin meets up with Suzuka, a fellow photographer. As it turns out, Gojo also wanted to meet someone there. Ogata Akira, a cosplayer and prop maker that he's been chatting with online. Gojo had questions about making props for cosplays. He'd made a couple of small things with Marin before, but a painted gem is very different from making a katana. As it turns out, Akira is friends with Suzuka. They, along with Amane and another friend of Suzuka's, Miyako, all go to an after-party. Right from the start, it is obvious that Akira is uncomfortable around Marin. Later on, she flat out says she doesn't want to be around her at all, but I'm getting ahead of myself. The participants of the after-party all decide to have a coffin party, based on the horror game Coffin. Though it's called a horror game, it's actually a thriller. Let me explain. Horror is a subset of speculative fiction. In other words, horror is fantasy. It contains story elements that are not real, such as monsters or magic. Thrillers can be fiction, but they are based in reality. So a zombie movie is a horror, while a story with a serial killer is a thriller. Anyway, rant over. The Coffin game is a descent into madness. As the player, you slowly discover how one of the nuns murdered and ate the other nuns. This is reflected in Marin's descent into madness. A sudden storm stops all the trains from running, so Gojo is forced to spend the night. The two of them do some shopping and Gojo decides he isn't sleeping. Of course, he's completely innocent, but Marin has a bit of brain rot from eroges. So she sees him near the condoms buying an energy drink and hears the words, "I won't be sleeping tonight," and thinks they're gonna have sex. And just like the nun from the video games, Marin slips deeper and deeper into madness. Of course, nothing happens. Marin sleeps in her bed while Gojo stays in the living room and plays the video game all night. But the parallels between the Coffin game and Marin losing her mind over the idea of having sex are hilarious to me. And then, after the Coffin party, we finally find out why Akira can't stand being around Marin. It's because she's an obsessed fan. Some people worship celebrities. They put them on pedestals, have shrines dedicated to them in their houses, buy all of their merchandise to support them, which is fine if that's what you're into. Akira firmly falls into that camp. She's a huge Marin fanatic, going so far as to call her princess. Now, I wouldn't say that hidden love is a theme of Coffin Party, but it does tie in rather well with our current arc. The current arc begins while the previous arc was ending, so it is appropriate that themes from that one blend together. Akira's obsessive love with Marin matches well with Archangel Haniel's obsessive love with the demon who stole her heart. Haniel ripped out her white wings, but black wings never grew. She tore out her white nails, but black nails never grew. Mandate of Heaven is the work of a master storyteller, and to help tell that tale, even just a piece of it, Fukuda-sensei had to up their game as well. In Chapter 87, when Gojo was on the phone with Akira discussing Mandate of Heaven, we see a small blurb on the page in the manga. "I don't know which side of me is the real me." Close readers will note that this is the line that makes Gojo go over to Marin's house at the end of chapter 106. The theme of Mandate of Heaven is that of destruction. As Akira says, the author, Shiba Tokyo, loves the aesthetic of destruction. Everyone assumes that the protagonist will eventually get killed off. The whole premise of the manga is God hating humanity so much, he sends his angels down to wipe them out. But Haniel was banished from heaven for desecrating herself and falling in love with a demon, not sent to destroy. However, the lowly life forms before her are not worth her time. Humanity is just drivel. She ignores the world she's in and stares at the reader the entire time. In other words, the demon she is searching for is you. You are the shadow to her light, just like Gojo is the shadow to Marin. Light cannot shine without darkness. All who look upon Haniel despair, which is what Gojo feels when he gazes upon Marin while she's standing in the middle of that enormous crowd. Gojo knows he can never be worthy of Marin. She's a brilliant ray of light and he's not worthy to step out of the darkness. And if he says anything, he knows it will destroy their friendship. But destruction is part of creation. Whenever you create something, you break apart the old. Fabric is sliced with scissors. Eggs are cracked and beaten. Rocks are cut. But you can't sew cosplay without destroying the fabric. You can't make omurice without breaking eggs. You can't polish a gem without first grinding it down. And you can't become lovers without destroying your friendship. Marin has struggled with this for months. Many times she debated how to tell Gojo, but she was worried about losing their friendship. And now Gojo believes it's over as well. So, saying goodbye to their friendship, essentially destroying it, has allowed them to be reborn as lovers. Where will the story go from here? I don't know. I think we'll have at least one more arc just to help wrap things up. And maybe this time, Marin can convince her boyfriend to cosplay with her. Just once. Thanks for tuning in. Once again, a huge shout out to my editor Cute Stuff. I couldn't make these videos without her. If you'd like to hire her to edit your own videos, she can be reached at cutestuff.edits@gmail.com. Link is down below. If you're looking for ways to support the channel directly, you can head on over to patreon.com/Danon. There are several tiers to choose from. You can pick an anime or manga for me to do a video about, or you can join our monthly manga club. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to all of my patrons: Waffles, Jiraiya, Danny, Muffins, Marcus, Brett, Roxy, Sean, Mark, Borgie, Nazwin, Midge, Alex, Conga, Aaron, Chris, Robert, Austin, William Pye, Turner, Triz, Kazaris, Slack, Dan, Buxu, and Patrick. You guys are awesome. I post anime or manga videos often, or you can click here to watch additional videos. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time on Musings by Danon.